Confirmation from the box. Ebenezer and Siya Kolisi are officially ruled out of the test today against England due to last-minute injuries. As a result, there is a complete reshuffle within the team. And Cameron Hanekom will come into the starting lineup in the number 7 jersey. Pieter-Steph du Toit will trade the 7 for the number 4, as well as take on the proverbial captain's armband in Siya Kolisi's place. Paul de Villiers will start for the Boks and officially become a Springbok. And on the bench, Ben-Jason Dixon will come into the number 20 jersey. So last-minute changes for the Boks, but also last-minute changes for England. We have also got official confirmation that George Forbank will not start for England or take any part in the match itself. He has dropped out of the 23. Marcus Smith has shifted into the starting lineup in the number 15 jersey, and Henry Slade has been confirmed as the number 23. So late changes and interesting changes as well in terms of it does definitely change the complexion of the Springbok side especially. So if you look at the side, this is now what the Springbok side will look like when we take to the park in a little over an hour and 20 minutes. And the front row remains unchanged, but a very different looking second row in Pieter-Steph du Toit and Ruan Nokia. Pieter-Steph du Toit, more of a traditional number 5 lock, really. Isn't really, played much kind of as a tight head lock option. So a big opportunity for him, I suppose, to show that he can do it. But it's also a big loss in losing a traditional kind of number 4. And the good news is, in terms from a line-out jumper point of view, Ruan Nokia still starting means that he can still call the line-outs. For me, it's a huge change in the back row because the complexion of those three have changed a lot with the likes of Cameron Hanekom, Jasper Wiese, Paul de Villiers. What we do suddenly have is a huge breakdown threat from a Jacqueline point of view. Cameron Hanekom, Paul de Villiers, both players very good over the ball. So at a breakdown turnover point of view, when you're adding in a Malcolm Marx, for example, a Jasper Wiese, who's definitely been working on that section, the English now will have to be very careful about leaving any sort of rucks or breakdowns exposed because we've got players who can get onto that ball and turn it over. So it's only 2 changes, but it completely changes the kind of whole way that the pack's going to look a little bit. And very tough, Paul de Villiers. We, even earlier this year, we basically said he was one of the 5 players I expected to make a Springbok side and to get capped this year because of the kind of form he was showing within the Stormers setup. And he will now officially make his debut and become a Springbok very unexpectedly. In the number 6 jersey, Cameron Hanekom, what an opportunity this is for him. A player who I think can cover 6, 7, and 8. Didn't get much game time last year due to injury. Got an opportunity against Wales and a huge opportunity now for him to start and kind of show his worth from the get-go. I think we all know that he's a player who is probably going to play many games for the Boks, for example, but he was been primed as an impact player this weekend. Now he's got to get going from the get-go. The backline remains unchanged from a Springbok point of view. And the bench, Ben-Jason Dixon, that's a bit of a straight swap in fairness. It's a traditional number 7. Again, maybe not quite the breakdown threat that Cameron Hanekom is, but he is a line-out option. He is an option that can play at lock as well if he needs to. So, yeah, that's the big thing. There was no traditional lock on the bench, and there still isn't a traditional lock on the bench with Pieter-Steph du Toit having shifted there. So if we get an injury at either of the locks, for example, the worry will become a case of sort of who steps in. The good news is that Pieter-Steph du Toit, Ruan Nokia are both adept at calling the line out. So unless we use both of them, we will at least have someone who can call it and kind of make sure that kind of still operates. So it's definitely a spanner in the works, to put it bluntly and to put it maybe nicely. But this is what the Bok system is made for. The fact that we can have these kind of late changes, that we can have these sort of trials and tribulations and be ready for it. And this is why Rassie Erasmus is so intent on building the depth, giving players an opportunity, making sure we have these alignment camps so that everybody is aligned, so that somebody like Ben-Jason Dixon can slot onto the bench and know exactly what it's all about. And I'm not saying that this is the first time ever a team has had to make late changes, but we've had to really reshuffle things. This hasn't been a case of, right, at number 4 is out, we're going to bring in a number 4 or promote somebody from the bench and off we go. It's a very different looking pack because of the way we've had to reshuffle. But because we train for this, because we prepare for these kind of scenarios, and we've got Pieter-Steph du Toit, who's been playing a bit at lock in the last couple of years for the Boks, once again, kind of making that shift back to there. You know, we've got Cameron Honeycomb, who I'm sure has been practicing and spending time on all sort of three positions across that back row, because there's that whole idea that you've got to be able to play multiple positions. So at least, for example, we are very much prepared for this kind of situation because we've prepared so well going into this going into the season and in general, that we can kind of cope with these last minute changes. So the lock crisis is continuing, which is not good news. Let's hope that Eben Etzebeth will be back soon. Also, positive news, Frank Ramos and Lua Diaga expected to be fit in the next week or two, but we're very short of locks at the moment. So what are we thinking, people? Let me know down in the comments how this kind of changes the complexion or the look of the team. Does this dent our chances, for example? I think it's a massive opportunity for the Paul de Villiers coming in and Ben Jason Dixon, as well as Cameron Honeycomb, to be able to get going from the get-go and kind of show what he's all about. So that's the big thing, and that's what I'm going to focus on, is kind of the opportunities this does provide. Concerns over Khaleesi and Eben Etzebeth and how serious those injuries are. But we'll only have confirmation of that when we get to hear from Rassie Erasmus after the match. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well.